I sat listening out for about 45 minutes to an hour and watched an interview from WOAI San Antonio News 4. You know, it was from a while back. It's like one of the interviews they do with Mark Ross and the Polka Kid or whatever they're doing, the extra thing. And the I sit and talk to a graduate from Jefferson High School, and it wasn't Micah Owens or Elijah. Right? It was a young man named Chris Perez. Perez is more the way we say it. It almost sounds like it's Perez, but it's because you have the accent on the E. Right? So, but it was an interesting interview. Well, he told me that when we talked in prayer, the movie's a lot like Glory Road. It's like that. That's not the way it happened. That's not the way that happened. That's not the way that happened. That's not the way that happened. No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. It was very different. It was much more uncomfortable. That their marriage was much more uncomfortable because of business and having to deal with the music business. The whole thing about the music business is remember when I was working at Billboard affiliate. Well, I was working at two Billboard affiliates. It's a Sam, because the one with the Polygram rep, but it was even more of a Billboard affiliate at Circles because it was like the one black venue in Phoenix. And Phoenix is a big metroplex, and it was a Billboard affiliate. So we had lots of unbeknownst to me when I got the job, that we had, you had Ice-T coming in, Run DMC, Natalie Cole, Kelly Minter's husband, baby daddy, so we had lots of people always coming in and out of the store. So in San Antonio, when I was there and I told those stories, Marty Bottiger, I knew a guy like you in Idaho, he tell these bullshit stories. I said, I ain't trying to impress you to get no pussy, and I don't see no tits and nice ass on you, Marty. I'm just doing this past the time. If I was from bumfuck Idaho, I wouldn't meet anybody in the news that plays music and shit neither, right? Just so happens I worked at a Billboard affiliate store in Phoenix metropolitan area before I signed up for this shit. Okay, just trying to entertain the troops, right? Entertain the airmen, right? And it was true. All the stories I told, they happened. Get your hairy hunk. What was it? Hairy backed, hunchback motherfucking voice. He called the Rev. That shit was funny. Look, fuck that. No, he was mad. That was one pissed off uncle. We waited here for 2 hours, 115 degrees outside. You motherfuckers gonna come in where all the fucking honeys at to have sex with? No, these kids, look up to you. They admire you. You act like a bunch of fucking little, no account motherfuckers. The moms and dads was cussing them out. Oh, they ripped them up. Oh, Run DMC, they knew better. They did not want to end up in the news getting their ass kicked by a bunch of pissed off parents and aunts and uncles at Circles Records because they disrespected the children. No, they just fall in line. They knew exactly what was up. What's scarier than the murderers and the assholes and the thugs in the music business? Pissed off parents. Okay, they went off. That's Nat's girl. That's Nat's baby girl. You throwing her back in the chair like that? She lit up when I said that. I'm Nat's baby girl. Yeah. Osieza. If you don't speak Zulu like on the Gutfeld show, look it up. All right, look it up. I don't like to do a lot of research. I like to connect in prayer faithfully. My mom went to Jefferson High School. They're the Mustangs. Jefferson High School is the Foxes in El Paso. They're the Mustangs in San Antonio. It was the hoity-toity elitist school when my mom was there in the 50s. She was real excited to find out that it turned into the ghetto black Mexican school in the 1970s from Mike Owens. That made her very happy. They were snotty and racist when she went there. Now it's the Black Mexican school? Yeah, because she used to get in trouble from her dad all the time. 'Cause she always hung out with the help, which in St. Louis were black, and in San Antonio were Mexican. You sit in there and smoke cigarettes and listen to goddamn nigger music. It's better than sitting out there and listening to all your bigot friends in the military. You know. Yeah. Darling, you send me. I know you send me. Honest you do, honest you. Listening to 45s. At first I thought it was infatuation. But it's lasted so very long. Now I find myself wanting. Isn't that better than listening to a bunch of bigots talk shit? Telling old war stories? Having to kill for a paycheck, being heroes from it, you know. Most of y'all don't want to be it's uncouth to be a murderer for it's not hip. You want to be one of the, you want to be Ella Fitzgerald, you want to be Marilyn Monroe, you want to be Joe DiMaggio, you want to be the Nicholas Brothers, you want to be Michael Jackson, you know. You want to be Amadeus Mozart. Art imitating life, you know. The guy who played the King of Austria ended up getting arrested for having access to underage porn. You know, they do and get away with anything they want. They've been doing it for 10,000 to 100 years. You know, making that man play that role might have been just as bad as making him play Principal Rooney, right? Lay back and enjoy the rape. Make your money. Do as you're told. Fall in line, right? It's horrible. That was a better connection to Chris than I thought. But the thing is, the connection through Chris, everything is kind of guided by what they told me in Sierra Vista. And right when they told me, I kind of knew it instantly. You know, they take these children that are supposed to be exceptional and they plug them into supercomputers like they've been doing in the East for a long time before us. You know, we just had to keep up with the Joneses. And since we had Christ line, since we had the guy from King David's line, the one who's even more intelligent than considered King David is King David's son from an African woman. That's why I was always guided to be of African women, right? Not the Mexican women, not Edna Gomez. Okay. She's from the Iberian Peninsula and from Mexico. Not Miriam, she's our walk, right? No, you're supposed to be with women from Africa. And it just so happens that the one girl that I hooked up with at the club that stared me down has migration Ethiopian traits, which was a perfect and better genetic mix than the little girl from Dayton, Ohio. Her name was Yolanda Denise Gilliard, and I think even Patrick Earl Parsons would tell you, if you're going to get a genetic sequence of King Solomon, you're going to get it through Granny Gilliard and Roosevelt Gilliard, and not the bar hopping, join the, fall in line and join the gang and never question what they're doing. Daddies of Rocky's son that I refer to as Uriah, and Steffi's son named after Solomon, named after the spirit of his brother Andre Raphael, who's extracted by military units and put onto a supercomputer like his oldest brother Uriah. Right. When they explained to me that they did that stuff in the Temple of Set Illuminati, I knew almost instantaneously, you sons of bitches, They're like, why didn't they do it with Patrick? Because They already had the spirit of Solomon plugged into a computer, also torturing the spirit of Uriah on a computer. So why not agitate Earl with the spirit of Absalom being pissed off because of what's happening to the family and what's dad doing about it? The same thing any dad would do about it. Life's eternal, grace is infinite. Share, care, given according to need, built to last. Forgive debt and trespass, love one, eternal faithful peace. Biazi bifani wenani wema. Elect to live the Lord's Prayer, one man, one vote. It's the only way. Some of them have vaginas. Elect to live the Lord's Prayer. It's the only way. We're all given life by the glory of God. Same thing every father would do for his children so they could live the peace of the Messiah and not be mass murderers in compounds with security guards everywhere and lucky drones to make sure we're going to win the pornography contest of who has the best sex moans and who can do them to music the best and who can talk about their dysfunctional sex life for fuck money the best and who can talk about 187 and killing the guys in force, killing the police force in order to take over the police force so they can use the drones to make sure that they always keep the money. They're always in charge. They're always telling you what to do because their technology is the best, right? Same thing every father would do for his Andre Raphael, his Uriah, who he didn't even have a chance or opportunity to name, till he found out he was plugged into a computer for, it's 2006, no, it was 9 when you all told me. Me and Rocky had that situation happen, and was it 1986? I think I was working at Christown Mall. And I believe it was 1986. So 2006 would be 20 years when they moved me to Sierra Vista. So he would be a 20-year-old man. So by the time they plugged me in and told me what they did and were doing, he would have been the spirit of a 23-year-old man, which meant his younger brother Andre was about 21. He could vote for president if he wasn't plugged into a supercomputer in Cochise County, right? And that affects, their brother Patrick, because it plugged in, that's his brothers, right? Like Ted Kennedy with Jack and Bobby and shit, right? Because I was watching that, and Chris seemed a lot different because he was nervous. He gets nervous. He's a different guy when you're talking to him in like Lamar and Scott and Rob. Watch, different guy than when they get the cameras and they start talking to the guy from News Channel 4 and in San Antonio. Right, he's a different dude. Like I told you with John Davison Rockefeller, that ain't his real voice. Not John Davison, just David Rockefeller. David Rockefeller. That ain't his real voice. That's his PBS, Holidays with the Hypocrites voice and shit like that. His real voice is, they'll gladly kill over, his real voice is a lot different than his PBS voice and shit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like when I have to get around my family, I have to be 12-year-old Earl instead of, it's all good. That's why I like when Punchy comes around, because I get to be more myself, the Earl I was grown in to be around my friends when I was in college and working in circles and Barger, if I was from bumfuck Idaho, I wouldn't know nobody from the music industry neither. No, you know what I'm saying, motherfucker? Don't be jumping my shit, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna jump up in my shit. I'm going all ICP on your ass, right? Before I even heard ICP, right? I was always that way. People, you remember John Blends, man, don't be jumping Ronnie's shit and all that stuff, man. I could rip your ass all day if I want to, you with your teeth in your face and shit. And if you ran into it, I could take your skinny ankles and use you for a rake for my front lawn. And you ran into a wall face first with a boner, your teeth hit before your dick would. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, man, don't start with me. Static, don't start none, won't be none. I just knew Ronnie was gonna hurt him. And Ronnie got mad at me because I think Ronnie wanted to shove John into a bandsaw. It was a culmination of anger and pissed off, and it didn't. Little Emmett reached his limit, and I felt it, and I was like, "Oh, I ain't trying to have that happen." I know John is just making fun of Ronnie because people make fun of John. And it's horrible. It just doesn't stop. Competition, you gotta win, competition, you gotta win, competition. No Lord's Prayer to be found. And people looking for love, but nowhere on earth can it be found. And you got old Elon Musk with his 14 kids. It's like, no, your kids aren't exceptional enough to protect people from genocide, to plug into a computer, to have a virtual presence in their house, because they couldn't handle it. They would become switchers. Things would get out of control. You'd have too many Matlock TV shows. You'd have too many Dexter movies. You'd have too many. You don't have. You're not Krishnamurti enough for the judo. You're more like Yuji. Truth hurts only when you're a complete fucking asshole. And you tried to breed off the people that the truth is beautiful through to replace it with your ego, right? Because God gave us free will. The Lord does not. Once you understand the humility of the truth of our creation and the laws provided for the life of sacrifice, to maintain the life of sacrifice through holy covenants and faithful love of one another, obeying those natural laws. The Lord, I am the Lord. I don't give you it free will. You don't have free will, asshole. Okay? To be or not to be, that is the question. You either have faith in God or you don't. And the technology is going to have to kill you to stop you from using your free will to go around willy-nilly thinking you can make up anything you fucking want as you go along to invent your own God in your fucked up head and read it from a desk in an Oval Office, because you ain't going to get cornered because you've got Solomon plugged into a computer and you can hang with Confucius and Krishna, huh? What made you think those guys were playing chess? We ain't fucking Cat Stevens turning into Yusuf Islam around here. We don't answer to a higher authority. We understand the eternity of authority from infinite glory. Boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. I go for glory. Yeah. For all the suckers that fall and maul into the pit of purgatory, right? He knows me and I know him. We're cancers. We're floating. Okay. I am going to meet his young man someday. Hopefully Preem will be okay too. Because of the affection that Guru had for Preem. He loves that man a lot, right? They helped save a lot of people and their families from incarceration and being murdered, mas rapido, from their health ailments, from poverty and toxic environments. Yeah, I got to go, after I do the roof, I got to go play with Akron and Ypsilanti and Atlanta. And then I go to Moscow and back to my old stomping grounds, Moscow, Cruces, Silver, Albuquerque, and San Antonio. Right? But when I play at Akron, I really feel the campus. I really feel the community through those kids that I watched that TV show that ended up going to a rich Catholic school because they could win basketball games for the local insurance and car dealers and real estate community that were living in, a concrete cubicle, right? You African children, they're living in a concrete situation. The fifth largest city in the state of Ohio, the Zips. If he had gone to college, he probably would have gone to college for this high school coach with the other two guys at Akron. Yeah. Because he loved his friends and his family, and they made him feel comfortable. That's why he took him with him to Miami. It's family. When they took him in and gave him a place to stay and made sure his mom was okay and not dead, trying to do everything she could to just keep them alive and keep a roof over their heads, no matter what she had to do. Deontay West was having sex with his mom. Mom had a rough life. Like that woman that the first time I ever saw her face was when she came in the store to talk to Tony, and he had pictures on the phone of her genitalia instead of her face. The first time ever I saw your face. Remember Dante, the kid that I moved like a rag doll to not get violated at Three Springs, and he said, "Mr. Parsons, I didn't know you were that strong." I didn't know I was that strong either. I didn't want you to get violated. I'm 215. I'm about 200 pounds. You grab me with both hands and just move me like a rag doll. It's like, I love Noah. I love Natty. I love Kate. And I love Emmy and Crummy Cake and Patrick. I didn't want you. And then the stories that he told me from Toledo, I used to sit on the end of a couch while my next uncle or dad would sit on a straight back chair on two legs leaned against the wall, taking money from men. So mom was in the bedroom paying the rent. And that was his first memories. And apparently, because how's mama doing? She's cute. Okay. And she didn't keep him around and have him around a lot of times when she did what she had to do to take care of business, to keep a roof over his head and keep him fed. And that's how business works in Akron and Toledo. I have a son's plugged into a supercomputer that sees things that a woman is not supposed to see. He's been to paradise, but he's never been to him. He's never got to run with Emily, making sure she's not getting asthma from toxic environments and dentist chairs from her mom being sexually predicated on military units, to get Andre's dad to go to the zoo and start killing people because he's got to stop all this viciousness, and they're trying to bomb him back in the Stone Age so he reacts like David and Samson. But life's eternal and grace is infinite, and I help my Father focus. And they try to get us to battle about our mothers and which one has the better mother for the better son to be the king of Israel. And my middle son, Andre, he calms him down. So having the man like Solomon plugged into a computer, it really helps. Whether you give him credit or not, he doesn't care. All he cares about is the children living the Lord's Prayer so we can live the faith of Psalms and this wisdom of Proverbs. Teach your children well. If you don't like listening to this video, go listen to Nick Shirley and Ryan Shaw talk about the great contributions of the world to Elon Musk, the business partners of the people that did this to my children and the women in my life. How many times do I have to tell you that this boat is sinking? You suck. Yeah, well, Kevin said it. We ain't going to get thrown out of the Talking Stick Arena before it was America West Arena, before America West went out of business. That shit was funny. No, me and Jan were. Patrick wanted me to hook up with Jan. He loved Jan. She was from Philly. She was spunky. Hootie hoo. He loved Jan. He wanted Jan to like me, you know. We were friends, you know, just friends. And I was there for her, and she was cool and stuff. And it's like, no, we just ain't like that, you know. We like each other, we just don't like each other in that way. But we like friends with benefits. So that was me and Jean Delay, all right? But Patrick loves Jean Delay. He's like, she'd be so cool to have as a, you know. She was like Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince, you know. She's so cool. She's fun. She knows what's hip. She don't take no shit. She worked as a counselor at a federal prison outside of Phoenix, right? So she didn't take no shit at all, right? Miss Ross, right? Patrick adored her. He loved her. He loved Jean Delay. I like her. She's one of your best friends. And like I said, all the black women just loved Patrick, you know. They adored him, you know. Deb did, everybody, you know, they did, yeah. And the white ladies did too, you know. Jake's mom just loved Patrick. They all loved Patrick. The women, Mrs. Demain, Miss Rich, gosh dang, she was was it Huber? Yeah, his kindergarten teacher. She adored him and Giannis, you know, because you can't help but have some kind of, they have a favorite thing to you and stuff. Those two quiet, shy, sweetheart kids that were always kind and protecting, stopping the other kids from bullying, you know, stuff in a quiet, kind of calm way. A lot like their dad. Well, no, Patrick was always a little bit more calm and quiet than I was at it. I was more the humorous one. You know, your dick would hit before your teeth would. You know, Patrick was the calm one. And then when he got left with his mom, who was angry, he went different than me. And, you know, with me, they always backed off. And I was there. I tried to tell him, you know, you got to give him a chance. And no, Patrick didn't give him a chance. He was like, he was being raised by his mom and angry lesbians. He kicked the shit out of him, was getting kicked out of school all the time. Oh, he beat their asses worse than Noah beat their asses on Boy Next Door, you know. He came out and said, yeah, two linebackers were shoving Andrew into a locker, and I kicked the shit out of them. I came out, put one foot in one of their chests and the other one's head right in the locker. Wham! Don't be fucking with my people. Don't bully in my people, you fucking football players. I don't like your fucking coach. He's an asshole. Most of them are. Give me some blood. Tear him in half. Starting defense, piece of playable. Here's your steroids. I want to win. Okay, stand up for the Lord's Prayer, or my son's going to kick the shit out of your linebackers for shoving cross-country people, thespians, into a locker. Okay, I love you too. Hey, your brothers understand, and they love you, Patrick. And if you think I'm crazy, you haven't spent time in Cochise County. I love you, all right? Peace out.